Hi, thanks for joining me today. This video is going to introduce you to one of my favorite yoga poses, downward facing dog. You're probably very familiar with this pose as it is a very popular pose in yoga, and most people just know the name and the shape of downward facing dog. It's really great for helping to lengthen the spine, helping to build strength in the upper body, helping to engage the muscles of the core and stretch out the muscles in the legs. So all beneficial things. So we're going to do a little warm up, and then we're going to add in several variations of downward facing dog today. So if you have some yoga blocks, you can have them handy. You might want them for our child pose for a little support under the head, but you really shouldn't need any additional props for this session. So we're going to start in that extended child pose. So if you want to use one of your blocks, if you have a block, you could also use a stack of books or even a firm cushion or pillow or folded up blanket under the forehead. But on the knees, bring your big toes together, bring your knees towards the outside edges of the mat, hands towards the outside edges. Send your hips back towards your heels, letting the forehead release down to your mat. And again, if your forehead doesn't come comfortably down, you can take a yoga block and let your head rest there. You can even stack up your hands or make fists with your hands and let your head rest there. So you want to think of a nice long length in the spine from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head here. And if you don't have that support, sometimes you get a little kink in that neck. So a couple breaths here. Full deep inhales and long, slow exhales to just allow yourself time to let go of the rest of your day and just let your focus turn inward. Excuse me. So as you gently breathe in and out of the nose, feel the back of the body, rise with the inhale, and then maybe feel yourself sink a little closer to the mat as you exhale. Just inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And very gently, you can let the head roll side to side. So a little massage across the forehead. Just let your head be heavy, whether it's resting on your mat or on some type of support. And then letting the head come back to center. Press into your hands as you inhale, come up to your table pose. So as you set up in your table pose, make sure that you have the wrist under the shoulder, spread the fingers nice and wide, knees underneath the hips. Again, we're going to do a little warm up for the spine before we step right into our downward facing dog. So from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone, find that nice length. Think of drawing the lowest ribs towards the hips. So we're finding that core engagement. And then curl your toes under. Lift the knees just a couple inches off the mat so you can feel those abdominal muscles engaging and the muscles in the back of the body. Inhaling and exhaling, little hovering table pose here. And then gently release the knees down to the mat. Uncurl the toes as you inhale, let the pelvis tip forward, lift the heart and the sternum, take the gaze forward and up into a cow pose. Nice extension here for the spine. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in, tipping the tailbone under, let the head release down towards the mat as you find that nice lengthened stretch in the back of the body. So keep that going, moving with your breath. Inhale, the pelvis tips forward, lift and lengthen out of the front of the body, and then exhale and round the spine. Again, do that a few more times on your own, just moving with your breath. And after your next exhale, just come back to neutral, back to table pose, and then bring awareness to your hips. And we're going to start to circle the hips here. So as you circle the hips, just make a small circle. Just think of the pivot point as your knees there. So just gentle circle around. If the small circle feels good, you can start to make your circle a little bit bigger. Make sure you're breathing. Starting to get a little release for the hips and the lower back. And then notice which direction you are circling. Pause and then circle the other direction. Again, start a little small with your circle to begin with. And then expand the circle if it feels okay for your body. One more circle around and then come back to your neutral spine, adjusting your knees back under the hips if you need. Now take that circle into the middle part of the torso, into the ribs, so that your elbows bend, let the chest and the chin dip a little bit down towards the mat as you make a big circle with your ribs. And here we come in and out of that little cat and cow movement as we let the chest dip down towards the mat. You've got that little bit of cow movement, and as the back rounds up towards the ceiling or sky, we get that little bit of movement of cat. And again, keep breathing, and then change the direction of the circle. And notice if it feels any different when you do that. Good. One more big circle around. Come back again to that neutral spine. Adjust the wrist under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. Now bring your hands, one handprint in front of your shoulders. Really press into the fingertips at base of the knuckles. Curl your toes under. Lift the knees just as we did earlier. Now begin to send your sit bones up and back. Keep the knees bent. Find that nice length in your spine, from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. So again, keep the knees bent. We'll focus on the length of the spine with this first variation of our downward facing dog. Again, really press into those fingertips and the base of the knuckles to help it take the pressure off the wrist. Long, full breaths. Think of drawing the lowest ribs towards the hips, so we're keeping that core engagement. And then very gently, as you inhale, release your knees back down to the mat. Exhale, fold back to child pose. You can take the knees wide again, or you can keep the thighs more parallel if you'd like. Again, forehead to the mat or resting on the hands. Take 2 big breaths here, inhaling and exhale. Again, think full inhale, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Long exhale as you release the breath. And now inhale, press back up to your table pose, setting up again for second pass through downward facing dog. So hands a little in front of the shoulders, curl the toes under, lift the knees, send your sit bones up and back. Start with the bent knees and then slowly begin to pedal through the feet. So release one heel down towards the mat. Really keep that other knee bent. And then switch sides, bend the straight leg, and then press down through the heel of that opposite leg as you stretch and lengthen through the backs of the legs. So do that a couple times. Again, think really nice and slow here. Take a moment to really feel the stretch on each side. And then coming back to center, either with your knees bent or your legs straight, whatever feels best for you. And then inhale, come way up onto your toes, straighten the legs, press the chest towards the thighs, send your sit bones up as high as you can. And now keeping the legs straight, exhale, think of letting the heels drop down towards the mat. They don't need to touch, but just feel the weight get a little heavier in the heels. And then inhale again, come way up onto your toes. And then exhale, let the heels drop down. One more time like that. Inhale, lift way up onto your toes. Exhale, let the heels drop. Now release the knees again down to the mat and curl the toes, fold back to child pose. This time your option, if you need a little break for the wrist, you can turn the palms up, maybe wiggle the fingers or a little roll of the wrist, or you can even bring your hands back beside the feet with the palms facing up, which is a nice release for the wrist. Just keep breathing. Just inhaling and exhaling. And then pressing into the palms. Inhale, come back up to your table pose. Set up again, downward facing dog. So again, hands a little in front. And the reason we do that is when we come up, then we're going to have a longer distance between the hands and the feet, which is going to elongate the spine a little bit more. So again, pressing into the fingertips, base of the knuckles, curl the toes under, lift your knees, send your sit bones up and back. Come through that bent knee, downward facing dog, and then decide what you would like to do with your downward facing dog this time. So maybe you straighten the legs and really press through the heels, and you think of lifting the kneecaps up and drawing the lower belly in. Maybe you pedal the feet a little bit more, or maybe you even keep the knees bent. So whatever feels good. Just keep breathing. Feel that nice length again from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. Nice length in your spine. Full inhales and exhales. And then releasing the knees again down to the mat. And we're going to fold back again to that child pose. Give the wrists a break. 2 big breaths here. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. And then as you inhale again, bring the hands back in front. So one more little pass through our downward facing dog. So let's bring again the hands in front of the shoulders. Send those sit bones up and back. Inhale and exhale. And this variation, and you can keep the legs, knees bent or the legs straight, but bring a little weight into your right heel. Inhale, left heel. Inhale, lift the right leg up, 3-legged dog. So it doesn't matter how high you lift it. It can just be a little bit up off the mat. Think of keeping your hips nice and square. So don't lift so high that you twist the pelvis. So we're going to keep that nice alignment. Inhale and exhale, and then slowly lower the right leg back down. Weight into the right heel. Inhale, lift the left leg. Again, keep those toes pointing down. Keep the pelvis level. Press in evenly into both hands. Press through that left lifted heel, even though it's not pressing into a physical structure. Keep all of those muscles working. That helps to balance out the shape, this pose. And now release that left leg again back down, and then releasing the knees down. Again, fold back to your child pose, your variation here. Take a few breaths. And then as you're ready, slowly come up to a comfortable seated position. So you can sit up on your heels. You can come to a cross-legged position, whatever feels best for your body. So take a moment here, just let your eyes close, letting the hands rest comfortably on the thighs. And again, just check in, see how you feel. Feel the length of your spine. Notice the rhythm of your breath. And again, just taking a few moments on your mat to bring a little awareness to the body and the breath. And using our downward facing dog to help lengthen our spine, bring energy into the body, engage our core muscles, stretch and strengthen through the legs, and strengthening the upper body. And take another long breath in, long breath out. Very gently let the eyes open. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that quick little session to introduce a little flow with our downward facing dog. So again, very beneficial for all those parts of the body, for strengthening the wrist, the shoulders, the elbows, the arms with that weight bearing, and bringing that nice length to the spine, and strengthening and stretching out through the legs. All beneficial work for our body before we get on our horse and take a ride. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Check out Grey Horse Yoga in the info section below, and I hope to see you sometime soon in the saddle or on the mat. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.